Fonda and Melba. Unfortunately, my father, Dr. Hwang, wasn't able to be here. My mom, Ann Hwang, asked if I would represent our family. My brother is here too. I'm honored to be able to share on behalf of my family about Dr. Wu's importance and the whole family importance to our family. My parents first met Dr. Wu in 1962 when my dad started his PhD program here at Caltech. My mom, his fiance, had just come to America from Taiwan. My parents wanted to get married around Christmas vacation, but in American culture, a father figure walks the bride down the aisle, as Professor Howe mentioned. Since both of my parents were new to America, they didn't have any family here. My dad looked for someone at Caltech. In the early 60s, there were very few Chinese people in Pasadena, but he was told there was a Chinese professor in mechanical engineering. He went to meet Dr. Wu to ask him if he would walk his fiancée down the aisle. Dr. Wu was delighted to and said he and Mrs. Wu should meet his fiancée. They invited my parents out to Baskin & Robbins, 31 flavors, right here on Lake. And at that time, Baskin Robbins was a large ice cream parlor. It's a little more fast food now for people to get together. They met and talked, and Dr. Wu and his wife, Qinghua, were so glad to do it. On the wedding day, Mrs. Wu helped prepare my mom. They really helped my mom to feel comfortable in a new country and culture. This forged a lifelong friendship. Even after the wedding, the Wus became friends, and even so often they would invite my parents to dinner. At that time, the students wouldn't be inviting the professors, but they were so honored to have Dr. Wu invite them out to dinner. Mrs. Wu even brought a bassinet that they used for Fonda and Melba for my mom to use when I was born, when my dad was studying at Caltech, and it was very helpful for my mom at that time. So growing up, our families would get together for dinner. Then after all the kids were grown, Dr. and Mrs. Wu and my parents enjoyed many get-togethers sampling Chinese seafood restaurants in the area. When my dad was turning 70, I put together books of letters, and one of the first people I thought of interviewing was Dr. Wu. He was the consummate educator with a wealth of stories and knowledge. During our time together, he talked about tsunamis, he talked about history of Caltech, he talked about Chinese and American culture. He wasn't just the academic scientist, but he had such a breadth. He was really, truly a Renaissance man. So during that time, I really enjoyed listening to his stories and insights. He recounted the trip my dad and he took to the 1981 International Symposium of Tsunamis, held in Sendai, Japan, with such delight and detail. Dr. Wu and my dad took a trip from Sendai back to Tokyo, and they both enjoyed recounting the trip like two college students, especially eating seafood on the train. Both of them have talked about it. So every time we would see Dr. Wu, he was always so upbeat and encouraging. He never lacked for entertaining stories. We will miss him, and his stories and legacy will live on. So thank you.